First Contact Protocol. The Concordia gleamed against the darkness of space, like a silver needle threading through black velvet. Once a military vessel, now repurposed as a diplomatic transport, it housed representatives from 17 sentient species across the Orion Arm. Sergeant Maya Reynolds watched the stars through the observation deck's viewport, her reflection ghosted against the endless void. 10 years since humanity had stumbled onto the galactic stage, and still they were treated like children who had wandered into an adults-only establishment. Her uniform, crisp charcoal gray with the blue and green Earth insignia on her shoulder, marked her as both diplomat and soldier, an unusual combination that raised eyebrows across species. But humanity had learned quickly that in this galaxy, you needed to be ready for both conversation and combat, often in the same meeting. Maya's comlink chirped, "Sergeant Reynolds, your presence is requested in Conference Hall B. The Vraxian delegation has arrived." She sighed. The Vraxians, tall, imposing beings with exoskeletons that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, were among the oldest species in known space, and made no effort to hide their disdain for evolutionary latecomers like humans. "Acknowledged. On my way," she replied, straightening her uniform and squaring her shoulders. The corridors of the Concordia buzzed with activity. A pair of jellyfish-like Medusans floated past, their translucent bodies pulsing with light as they communicated. A reptilian saurid engineer argued with a maintenance bot near an access panel. And everywhere, the subtle hum of translation devices created a background symphony of understanding. Technology that had taken other species centuries to develop, shared with humanity in a diplomatic gesture that felt more like a leash than a gift. Conference Hall B's doors slid open, revealing a semicircular chamber with tiered seating. In the center stood Commander Genkar, the Vraxian delegation leader, nearly 7 feet tall with an exoskeleton that gleamed metallic blue under the lights. His 4 arms were adorned with ceremonial bands denoting his rank and lineage. "And so we maintain that Sol Sector remains a probationary territory until humans demonstrate sufficient cultural maturity," Genkar was saying to the assembled representatives. Several nodded in agreement. Their propensity for violence alone justifies. Maya cleared her throat. All eyes, some multifaceted, others vertical slits, a few glowing orbs, turned toward her. "Sergeant Reynolds." Genkar's voice carried the distinctive click-purr of the Vraxian language, even through the translator. "How fortuitous. We were just discussing humanity's position within the Concordat." "So I gathered," Maya replied evenly. She stepped forward, noting the way the delegates subtly shifted in their seats. Fear, discomfort? Hard to tell with so many different physiologies. "I believe I was invited to this session to discuss the Joint Defense Initiative for the Arcturus Passage." Indeed, a Selenian representative interjected, her silver skin reflecting the room's light in prismatic patterns, though the broader context of Earth's integration remains relevant. Maya moved toward the circular table at the center of the room. One seat remained open, directly beside Genkar. Protocol dictated that the primary representatives of each species sit at the inner circle during formal discussions. As she pulled out the chair, Genkar's lower right arm shot out, blocking her access. "This seat is reserved for full members of the Concordat," he stated, his mandibles clicking softly in what Maya had learned was a gesture of smug satisfaction. Perhaps one of the observer seats would be more appropriate. The room fell silent. Maya felt the weight of dozens of alien gazes. The observer seats lined the back wall, where junior members and assistants sat, unable to directly participate in discussions. Being relegated there would be a clear diplomatic insult to Earth. "The Sol Sector has provisional membership status," Maya replied, keeping her voice neutral, "which entitles human representatives to primary seating in accordance with Section 7, Paragraph 3 of the Concordat Charter. Unless that's changed since this morning." Genkar's bioluminescent patterns flickered in what might have been irritation. "Technicalities. Your species has barely mastered interplanetary travel. You stumbled upon our outpost on Mars through sheer luck, not achievement. And yet here I am. Maya replied, her hand still on the chair. I don't believe your personal opinions supersede established protocol, Commander. The tension in the room thickened. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. The Medusans in the corner began pulsing rapidly in what Maya recognized as their equivalent of nervous whispering. Very well. Genkar removed his arm with deliberate slowness. Though I maintain that your presence diminishes the dignity of these proceedings. Maya sat down, placing her datapad on the table. Your objection is noted, Commander. Now, regarding the defense initiative. She was interrupted by a low rumble. The deck beneath them vibrated, and the lights flickered. Maya's military instincts kicked in immediately. Status report. She barked into her comlink. The ship's eye responded, its voice unnaturally calm. Navigation systems experiencing critical failure. Gravitational anomaly detected at bearing 047. Emergency protocols engage. The conference room erupted in a flurry of movement and alarm calls in a dozen different languages. The view screen on the far wall activated automatically, showing the Concordia's position. Maya's blood went cold. They were drifting toward a binary pulsar system. The electromagnetic radiation alone would fry their systems, and the gravitational forces could tear the ship apart. How is this possible? Demanded the Selenian representative. The navigation eye has redundant safeguards. Genkar rose to his full height. Emergency Council convenes now. All non-essential personnel, remove yourselves. His upper eyes flicked dismissively toward Maya. She stood her ground. With respect, Commander, I have extensive experience with emergency protocols on vessels of this class. The Concordia was originally built in Earth's orbital shipyards. A human design. Genkar's mandibles clacked in derision. That explains the current predicament. The ship shuddered again. The AI's voice returned. Propulsion systems offline. Estimated time to critical proximity, 47 minutes. Maya studied the trajectory data on the view screen, her mind racing. Something wasn't adding up. The Concordia had state-of-the-art navigation systems, with triple redundancies, for all of them to fail simultaneously. This isn't a malfunction, she said quietly. This is deliberate. The room fell silent again, but with a different quality, tense, fearful. A serious accusation, Genkar replied. Do humans always resort to conspiracy theories when technology fails them? Maya ignored the jab, pulling up schematics on her datapad. The Concordia was retrofitted from the EMS Intrepid. Military vessels of that class had an emergency protocol, a completely isolated backup navigation system. It would be rudimentary, but it could give us enough control to avoid the pulsar. If such a system exists, why hasn't it activated? Asked a Terrapan delegate, his shell-like carapace vibrating with concern. Because it was likely decommissioned during the retrofit, Maya explained. Military hardware converted to civilian use. But the infrastructure should still be there. Hardwired relays, manual controls. Genkar's bioluminescent patterns pulsed rapidly. You propose to navigate manually past a binary pulsar. Impossible. Even our most skilled pilots would not attempt such a thing. Not manually, Maya clarified, but using the backup system, if we can reactivate it. It was designed specifically for situations where the main systems were compromised. And you know how to access this system. The Selenian leaned forward, hope tinging her melodic voice. Maya nodded. I served on the Intrepid's sister ship before transition to diplomatic service. I know where the access points would be. Genkar's upper arms crossed in front of his thorax, a posture of skepticism. And we should trust the fate of this vessel, and all aboard to your human intuition. Another violent shudder ran through the ship. The lights dimmed momentarily. You have alternatives, Commander. Maya met his four eyes directly. After a tense moment, Genkar's patterns shifted to a steady blue pulse, reluctant acceptance. Very well, Sergeant Reynolds, but I will accompany you. If this is indeed sabotage, as you suggest, we must consider all possibilities, including human involvement. Maya nodded curtly. Fair enough. We'll need a technical team, preferably someone familiar with the Concordia's current systems and someone with knowledge of older Earth vessels. I volunteer, said a voice from the observer seats. A Vraxian engineer rose, younger than Genkar, his exoskeleton a more muted copper tone. I supervised part of the retrofit. I am familiar with both the original structure and current modifications. Technician Krell, Genkar acknowledged. Very well. Time is critical, Maya said, already moving toward the door. We need to access the maintenance shafts below Deck C. That's where the emergency system's main hub would be located. As they exited the conference room, Maya felt the weight of their situation pressing down on her. 47 minutes to save a ship of diplomatic representatives from 17 species. If she failed, it wouldn't just be lives lost. It could mean war. Many would blame humanity for the disaster, regardless of the true cause. And somewhere aboard, someone had deliberately sent them on a collision course with a pulsar. The question was, why? Krill fell into step beside Maya as they hurried through the corridors. These emergency systems you speak of, they were not in any of the schematics provided during the retrofit. They wouldn't be, Maya replied. Military security protocol. They're designed to be invisible except to those who know exactly what to look for. They'd reached a maintenance hatch. Maya knelt and entered a sequence on the access panel. It blinked red. Overridden, she muttered. Whoever did this was thorough. Genkar clicked his mandibles impatiently. Perhaps your memory is flawed, Sergeant. Maya ignored him, pulling a multi-tool from her belt. She pried open the panel casing and examined the circuitry beneath. Give me a minute. Her fingers worked quickly, bypassing the electronic lock by directly manipulating the mechanical components. Old-school techniques, something her drill sergeant had insisted on teaching despite the digital age. Sometimes the oldest solutions are the most reliable, he'd said, because everyone forgets they exist. The hatch popped open with a hiss. How did you? Krell began. Manual override, Maya explained, already lowering herself into the narrow maintenance shaft. Shall we? The shaft was cramped, especially for the Vraxians. Genkar's exoskeleton scraped against the walls as they crawled through the dimly lit tunnel. Maya led the way, counting junction markers under her breath. 38 minutes remaining, Krell noted anxiously. They reached a junction with a small access panel. This wasn't on any current schematic, but Maya recognized the pattern of rivets around the edge, a subtle marker used on military vessels. Here, she said, running her fingers along the seemingly solid wall until she felt a slight depression. She pressed firmly in sequence. Too short, one long, too short. A hidden panel slid open, revealing an antiquated interface. Remarkable, Krell murmured. This system has its own power supply. Isolated completely from the main grid, Maya confirmed, activating the console. Green text scrolled across the screen. Basic command line interface. That's why it hasn't been affected. She began typing rapidly, inputting authorization codes she'd memorized years ago, praying they hadn't been purged from the system. Access Guaranteed. Emergency Navigation Protocol Alpha 7. QRENT Stay Atuitus. Inactive. May in navigation. Off line. Juravitio a nanomem alydtt. It's still here, Maya breathed. We need to redirect power to the auxiliary thrusters. From here, we can't achieve escape velocity, but we might be able to alter our trajectory enough to slingshot around the pulsar's gravity well instead of falling into it. That would require precise calculations, Genkar said, his tone less dismissive now. The margin for error is minimal, yes, Maya agreed, but it's our only option. She continued inputting commands, bringing the dormant system back to life section by section. The interface was crude by modern standards, but there was something reassuring about its simplicity. "I need to access the thruster controls directly," she said after a moment. "There's a secondary access point 3 junctions down that should connect to the propulsion system." As they moved through the maintenance shafts, the ship shuddered again, more violently this time. Maya was thrown against the wall, knocking the wind from her lungs. "The gravitational forces are intensifying," Krell observed. "We're being pulled in faster than anticipated." They'd reached the secondary access point. Maya activated another hidden panel, but what she saw made her blood run cold. The connection had been physically severed, cut clean through. "This confirms it," she said grimly. "Sabotage." Genkar moved closer, examining the damage. "These cuts are precise. Professional. Can it be repaired?" Krell asked. Maya examined the severed connections. "Not easily, and not quickly enough." She thought for a moment. "We need to bypass it completely. There should be tertiary controls in the emergency bridge." Emergency bridge. Genkar's patterns flickered in surprise. "There is no such facility on the schematics." "Exactly," Maya said. "Military vessels always have a hardened command center, separate from the main bridge, in case of catastrophic damage or capture. It would be small, minimal, and completely off any civilian retrofit plans." "Where would it be located?" Krell asked. "Follow me." They crawled through increasingly narrow passages, descending deeper into the ship's infrastructure. The emergency lighting cast everything in a red glow that made the Vraxians' exoskeletons look like dried blood. 22 minutes remaining, Krell noted. Maya finally reached a nondescript bulkhead with what appeared to be a standard maintenance panel. She entered another sequence, and a section of the wall retracted, revealing a small chamber barely large enough for 3 people. Inside was a stripped-down control console. No comfort, no aesthetics, purely functional. This was where the ship's command crew would make their last stand if all else failed. Maya immediately went to work, powering up the ancient systems. The screens flickered to life, showing the Concordia's position relative to the pulsar. The situation was even worse than she'd thought. They were already experiencing the outer effects of the electromagnetic field, which explained the increasing system failures throughout the ship. "I need to establish a direct link to the auxiliary thrusters," she explained, fingers flying over the controls. "Krell, can you reroute power from the secondary grid to this terminal? We'll need everything we can get." The younger Vraxian moved to a side panel, his own technical expertise evident, as he quickly assessed the power systems. "Commander," Maya addressed Genkar without looking up from her work, "I need you to return to the conference room and prepare the delegates. Even if we succeed, this will be rough. Everyone needs to secure themselves for extreme turbulence." Genkar's mandibles clicked in what might have been indignation. "You presume to give me orders, human." Maya finally looked up, her eyes hard. "This isn't about rank or species, Commander. This is about survival. I need someone with authority that all delegates will respect. And that's you, not me." A moment of tension stretched between them. Then, surprisingly, Genkar's patterns shifted to a deep purple, a color Maya had never seen from him before. "You are correct, Sergeant." He moved toward the exit. "I will ensure all are prepared. Do not fail in your task." As he left, Krell spoke quietly. "Purple is a rare pattern among our kind. It signifies respect." Maya allowed herself a small smile before returning to the console. "Let's make sure we earn it. How's that power reroute coming?" "Nearly complete," Krell replied. "But I discovered something concerning. The navigation sabotage. It originated from within the Vraxian delegation's secure network." Maya's hands paused over the controls. "Are you certain?" "The command signature is unmistakable," Krell confirmed, his patterns shifting to a turbulent yellow. "But it does not make sense. Why would we endanger ourselves?" "Not all of you," Maya suggested. "A faction, perhaps. Someone with an agenda." Before Krell could respond, the emergency bridge's systems suddenly came fully online, more quickly than they should have. That's strange, Maya murmured. The power flow just stabilized on its own. A new alert appeared on the screen. Auxiliary thrusters responding to remote commands. Someone else is accessing the system. Maya realized with alarm. They're trying to override our control. The human element. Maya's fingers flew across the console, trying to lock out the unknown intruder. Whoever sabotaged the navigation systems knows about the emergency protocols. They're attempting to seize control of the auxiliary thrusters. Krell moved beside her, his own hands dancing over a secondary panel. If they succeed, they could accelerate our descent into the pulsar's gravity well. We would have no chance of survival. The ship lurched violently, throwing them against the bulkhead. Warning indicators flashed across the screens. 16 minutes until critical proximity, the system announced dispassionately. Maya gritted her teeth, inputting override commands as quickly as she could. This was no longer just about saving the ship. It was a direct battle against whoever was trying to destroy it. I need to isolate this terminal from any external access, she told Krell. Can you physically disconnect the secondary comm relays while maintaining power flow? The Vraxian engineer didn't hesitate. He pulled open an access panel and began rerouting circuits with impressive precision. This will give us approximately 3 minutes of secure control before the system attempts automatic reconnection. That's all I need. Maya initiated the emergency thruster sequence, overriding the safety protocols. The ship shuddered as the long-dormant engines came to life. Thrusters at 23% capacity, she reported. Not enough for a clean escape, but maybe enough to alter our trajectory. Her mind raced through calculations, factoring in their velocity, the pulsar's gravitational pull, and the limited thrust available. It wasn't just physics. It was instinct, experience, the human element that machines couldn't replicate. There, she said, plotting a course that would use the pulsar's own gravity as a slingshot. If we approach it precisely this angle, we can convert some of that pulling force into acceleration around its perimeter. Krell studied the trajectory, his compound eyes widening. Ingenious, but the timing must be perfect. That's why I'm not letting the computer handle it. Maya took manual control of the thrusters, feeling the resistance through the ancient controls. My drill sergeant always said machines calculate, but humans feel. Sometimes that makes all the difference. The ship began to turn, painfully slowly. Through the small viewport in the emergency bridge, they could see the pulsar now. Twin stars spinning around each other, throwing off deadly radiation. Beautiful and terrifying. We're being hailed, Krell reported as a communication indicator blinked on the console. It's Commander Genkar. Maya nodded, and Krell patched it through. Sergeant Reynolds. Genkar's voice was tense. We have a situation. Security has apprehended diplomat Vrensa attempting to access restricted control systems. Maya exchanged glances with Krell. Vrensa? From your delegation? Yes, Genkar confirmed, his tone dark. He has refused to explain his actions, but we found communications with a previously unknown faction, calling themselves evolutionary purists. They appear to believe that allowing younger species into the Concordat weakens our collective future. So they'd rather kill everyone aboard than allow humans to participate. Maya asked incredulously, even as she continued adjusting their trajectory. Zealots rarely concern themselves with collateral damage, Genkar replied. What is your status? We've got auxiliary control, but barely enough power. I'm attempting a gravitational slingshot maneuver. There was a pause. That is extremely ambitious, Sergeant. It's our only chance, Commander. I need you to make sure everyone is secured. This will not be gentle. Understood. Genkar out. The communication ended, and Maya refocused on their approach. The ship was starting to vibrate as they entered the outer electromagnetic field of the pulsar. Systems throughout the vessel would be failing, alarms blaring. 10 minutes to critical proximity, the computer announced. We need more power, Maya muttered, watching the thrust indicators hover at 25%. At this rate, we won't achieve the velocity necessary to complete the slingshot. Krell studied the systems, his patterns pulsing rapidly. There is one possibility. The diplomatic quarters have independent power reserves, emergency life support for VIPs. If we reroute that power, it would leave those sections vulnerable. Maya finished. If anything goes wrong, we all perish anyway. Krell pointed out pragmatically. Maya nodded. Do it. Krell's fingers moved in a blur across the panel, initiating power transfer now. Lights dimmed throughout the ship as energy was diverted to the auxiliary thrusters. The thrust indicator jumped to 42%. Better, Maya acknowledged, but still not ideal. She adjusted their angle of approach, feeling the increasing gravitational pull of the pulsar trying to throw off her calculations. The ship groaned under the stress, the hull integrity alarms beginning to sound as the massive forces worked against the superstructure. 7 minutes to critical proximity. Maya focused intensely on the controls, making microscopic adjustments as they began their approach. Too steep, and they'd be pulled in. Too shallow, and they'd miss the slingshot effect entirely. The hull temperature is rising rapidly, Krell reported, his voice remarkably steady despite the danger. Radiation levels increasing beyond safe parameters. We'll need to reroute power to the forward shields once we reach the critical approach point, Maya instructed. Be ready to transfer thruster power on my mark. The emergency bridge was growing uncomfortably hot. Sweat beaded on Maya's forehead as she maintained her focus on the delicate balance of forces guiding their path. Through the viewport, the pulsar loomed larger, its deadly beauty filling their vision. The twin stars spun around each other in a cosmic dance of destruction, throwing off arcs of plasma and radiation. 5 minutes to critical proximity. They were fully in the gravitational well now. Maya could feel it pulling at the ship, trying to drag them into oblivion. But she'd positioned them at just the right angle. The same forces trying to destroy them could be their salvation. Prepare for maximum acceleration, she told Krell. When I give the word, transfer all remaining power to the thrusters, including life support reserves. That will leave us with only minutes of oxygen, Krell warned. If this works, we'll only need seconds, Maya replied, her eyes never leaving the controls. The ship began to curve around the pulsar's gravitational field, picking up speed as it did so. The hull creaked and groaned, protection systems blaring warnings about structural integrity. 3 minutes to critical proximity. Now, Krell, Maya ordered. The Vraxian diverted all remaining power to the thrusters. The emergency bridge went dark except for the glow of essential systems and the blinding light of the pulsar through the viewport. The ship lurched forward, accelerating as the gravitational forces and thruster power combined. Maya felt the pressure pushing her back into her seat as the G-forces increased beyond what the inertial dampeners could fully compensate for. For a moment, it seemed they would break free. Then, a violent shudder ran through the vessel. Hull breach detected in Section 12, the computer announced. Emergency bulkheads deployed. Maya's blood ran cold. Section 12 housed the diplomatic quarters, including the Earth delegation. The power diversion weakened the structural integrity, Krell explained, his patterns showing distress. But the bulkheads should contain it. Another alarm sounded. Secondary breach imminent in Section 14. We're coming apart, Maya realized. They were so close to escaping, but the ship couldn't withstand the forces being exerted on it. An idea formed in her mind, desperate, dangerous, but possibly their only chance. Krell, I need to create a controlled explosive decompression on the port side. If we vent atmosphere in a specific sequence, the thrust could provide the extra push we need to complete the slingshot. The Vraxian stared at her. You would deliberately breach the hull. Only in uninhabited sections, Maya clarified. The cargo bays along the port side. They're automated, no personnel. Krell's patterns shifted through several colors as he considered. It could work, but the timing would need to be precise. 1 minute to critical proximity. No time for debate. Maya decided, already inputting the commands. Prepare for emergency venting sequence on my mark. She plotted the sequence carefully. 5 cargo bays, vented in specific order to create maximum directional thrust, while minimizing structural damage. 30 seconds to critical proximity. Mark. Maya initiated the sequence. The ship rocked violently as the first cargo bay explosively decompressed, pushing them slightly off course. The second followed immediately, then the third, each one carefully timed to work with their trajectory rather than against it. Through the viewport, they could see debris and atmosphere venting into space, creating a trail of ice crystals that instantly formed in the vacuum. It's working, Krell confirmed, checking their course. Our trajectory is stabilizing. The fourth bay vented, giving them another push. The pulsar began to slide past their viewpoint rather than growing larger. They were curving around it, using its gravity to accelerate rather than being consumed by it. 10 seconds to critical proximity. Maya initiated the final vent. The combined effect of all 5 decompressions, along with the thrusters and gravitational assistance, gave them just enough momentum to complete the slingshot maneuver. The pulsar swung around in their view as the Concordia whipped past its deadly embrace, accelerating away from danger. For several seconds, neither Maya nor Krell spoke, both watching the redouts as their distance from the pulsar increased. Then, gradually, the emergency lights switched from red to amber. We've cleared the critical zone, Krell announced, his patterns pulsing with what Maya recognized as relief, radiation levels decreasing. Maya slumped in her seat, the adrenaline that had kept her going suddenly draining away. Damage report. Hull breaches in sections 12, 14, and 17, all contained by emergency bulkheads. Life support functioning at 63% capacity in most areas. We've lost the port cargo section entirely, but no casualties reported yet. Maya activated the comm system. Reynolds to bridge. We've cleared the pulsar's gravity well. Status report. Commander Genkar's voice came through, sounding uncharacteristically subdued. The main bridge is operational again, though systems are coming back online slowly. Your unorthodox solution appears to have been successful, Sergeant. Any casualties, Commander? A pause. Minor injuries throughout the ship. 2 delegates from the Terrapin contingent suffered radiation exposure, but are receiving treatment. And, Maya prompted when he didn't continue. Diplomat Vrensa is dead. He broke free from security during the maneuver and attempted to reach a control terminal. When the hull breach occurred in Section 14, he was caught in the decompression zone before the bulkheads could seal. Maya closed her eyes briefly. Despite everything, she hadn't wanted more deaths. I need to check on my delegation, she said, rising from her seat. Of course, Genkar replied. And Sergeant Reynolds. The council will convene once repairs are underway. Your presence will be expected at the primary table. The communication ended. Maya looked at Krell, who was watching her with an unreadable expression. Your commander just acknowledged me as an equal, she said, not quite believing it. He acknowledged you as more than that, Krell corrected, his patterns shifting to that rare purple hue. You saved everyone aboard this vessel with nothing but human ingenuity and courage. That is something even the oldest species can respect. Together, they made their way back through the maintenance shafts, emerging into corridors filled with the controlled chaos of emergency response teams. As they passed, alien delegates and crew members alike paused to look at them. At Maya specifically. There was something new in those looks, not the dismissive condescension she'd grown accustomed to, nor the vague tolerance usually afforded to humans in galactic society. Instead, she saw curiosity, reassessment, and from some, a newfound respect. They reached the diplomatic section, where Maya found her fellow human delegates treating minor injuries and helping restore order. Ambassador Chen, Earth's senior representative, approached her with a relieved smile. Sergeant Reynolds, The ship's communication system announced that you were responsible for our salvation. Quite a change from this morning's reception. It was a team effort, Ambassador, Maya replied, nodding toward Krell. I couldn't have done it without Technician Krell's assistance. Nevertheless, Chen continued, this marks a significant shift in our standing. Commander Genkar has already requested a private conference with Earth's delegation once the emergency is fully resolved. Maya raised an eyebrow. Did he say why? Only that recent events have caused him to reconsider certain historical assumptions about humanity's place in the galaxy. Before Maya could respond, her attention was drawn to a commotion near the conference room. 2 security officers were escorting a Braxian she didn't recognize, tall with an unusually pale exoskeleton marked with elaborate insignia. Who is that? She asked Krell. The engineer's patterns shifted to a wary yellow. High Inquisitor Trelvac. He serves the Evolutionary Council directly. His presence was not on any manifest, meaning he was here covertly, Maya deduced. Connected to Vrence's group. Almost certainly, Krell confirmed. The Inquisitors investigate threats to Vraxian evolutionary supremacy. If he's here, then this sabotage attempt goes deeper than one zealot. Maya finished. It was an organized operation. Ambassador Chen followed their gaze. This could be an opportunity, Sergeant, if we can prove a conspiracy against Earth. With respect, Ambassador, I think we need to approach this differently, Maya said. Accusation against accusation won't advance our position, but demonstrating value and capability just might. She watched as the Inquisitor was led away, his posture rigid with indignation. Something about the way he held himself reminded her of countless human supremacists she'd encountered on Earth. The same arrogance, the same fear disguised as pride. Some things, it seemed, were universal. I need to speak with Commander Genkar, she decided, not as an accuser, but as an ally. She found him in the main engineering bay, overseeing repair efforts. His exoskeleton showed signs of damage, scorch marks along one arm, a crack in his thoracic plating. He had not been hiding in safety during the crisis. When he saw Maya approach, he dismissed the engineers with a gesture. For a moment, the two stood in silence, human and Vraxian, facing each other as equals for perhaps the first time. Your actions saved this vessel and everyone aboard, Genkar finally said, his voice carrying none of its earlier condescension. Including myself. As I told the ambassador, it was a team effort, Maya replied. Your engineer Krell was instrumental. Yes, he has informed me of your collaborative approach. Genkar's patterns shifted to a contemplative blue. It is not what I expected. What did you expect, Commander? Based on historical records, humans have always prioritized their own survival. Yet you risked your life to save all species aboard, knowing that many viewed you as inferior. Genkar's mandibles clicked softly. It has made me reconsider certain assumptions. Maya studied him for a moment. The High Inquisitor, he wasn't on any official manifest. Genkar's patterns flashed with surprise. You are well informed, Sergeant. Not really. I just observed him being escorted by security. Krell identified him. She stepped closer. Commander, I believe what happened today goes beyond a single extremist. The evolutionary purists have infiltrated positions of influence. Genkar was silent for a long moment, his compound eyes studying her. You do not accuse my species as a whole. Why would I? Krell risked his life alongside me. You maintained order during a crisis that could have devolved into chaos. Actions speak louder than ideology. A human expression, Genkar noted, but apt. He reached into a compartment in his exoskeleton and withdrew a small data crystal. This was recovered from Diplomat Vrence's quarters. It contains communications with several high-ranking officials within the Concordat. Officials who believe younger species, particularly humans, threaten the established order. Maya accepted the crystal. Why give this to me? Because today you demonstrated why their fear is misplaced. Genkar's patterns shifted to a deep indigo. The Vraxian hegemony has dominated galactic politics for 20,000 years. We have seen species rise and fall. We believe this gave us wisdom. Doesn't it? Perhaps, but it has also bred complacency. He gestured to the damaged ship around them. When systems failed, our engineers calculated that survival was impossible. You improvised, created a solution none of us would have conceived. A repair drone buzzed past them, patching a ruptured conduit. Maya watched it work, considering her next words carefully. Humanity has a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. We've survived on Earth because we had to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. We didn't have 20,000 years of stability. And that is your species' strength, Genkar acknowledged. Adaptability. Creativity under pressure. His mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Qualities the Concordat may need in the times ahead. The ship's communication system activated. All senior delegates report to Conference Hall A for emergency session. Genkar gestured toward the exit. Shall we, Sergeant Reynolds? As they walked through the corridors, Maya noticed something had changed. The other aliens they passed didn't avert their gaze or whispered dismissively as she walked by. Some nodded in acknowledgement. A Medusan pulsed in what she recognized as their formal greeting pattern. The conference hall was already filled when they arrived. Unlike earlier, no one questioned Maya's right to sit at the main table. In fact, a space had been specifically reserved for her, marked with the Earth insignia. The session began with damage assessments and repair priorities, but quickly turned to the matter of the sabotage. The evidence recovered from Vrence's quarters had been shared with all delegations. The revelation that high-ranking officials were involved in the evolutionary purist movement caused a stunned silence, followed by heated discussions. This conspiracy threatens the very foundation of the Concordat, declared the Selenian representative. If we cannot trust our own leadership, trust must be earned, said a Terapan elder, his ancient voice carrying surprising strength. Perhaps it is time for the older species to earn the trust of the younger, rather than demanding it by right of seniority. Maya listened as the debate continued, species that had previously been at odds finding common ground in the face of a shared threat. When the discussion turned to Earth's status within the Concordat, Commander Genkar rose to speak. Today we witnessed what humanity brings to our coalition, he stated, his voice carrying the formal tones of an official declaration. Innovation, determination, and a willingness to risk everything for the common good. The Vraxian delegation formally moves to elevate Earth to full membership status, effective immediately. The hall erupted in a cacophony of alien voices and sounds. Maya sat stunned as species after species seconded the motion. Even those who had been most dismissive of humans now acknowledged the value of Earth's inclusion. The vote was nearly unanimous. In the span of hours, humanity had gone from tolerated newcomers to respected allies. As the session concluded, Krell approached Maya, his patterns pulsing with excitement. Sergeant Reynolds, the engineers have discovered something you should see. He led her and several senior delegates to a secure laboratory where technicians were examining debris recovered from the damaged sections of the ship. We found this embedded in the bulkhead near the navigation core, Krell explained, indicating a small metallic object under a scanning field. Maya leaned closer. It appeared to be a data module of some kind, but the technology was unlike anything she'd seen before. What is it? That, said an elderly sword scientist, is the question that concerns us. This device is not of any known design. Not Vraxian, not Selenian, not from any Concordat species. His scaled hand adjusted the scanner. And it bears certain similarities to the emergency system you activated, the human military design. Maya frowned. That's impossible. This technology is far more advanced than anything Earth has developed. Precisely, the Saurid agreed. Yet the base architecture is remarkably similar, as if someone took your fundamental design principles and advanced them by centuries. The implications hung in the air. If the technology was based on human designs, but far more advanced. Time travelers, suggested a Medusan representative, their translucent body pulsing skeptically. Or perhaps, Commander Genkar said quietly, there is more to humanity's story than any of us realize. His compound eyes fixed on Maya. Your species appeared suddenly on the galactic stage, with no prior indications of advanced technology. Your progress since then has been unprecedented. Are you suggesting Earth is hiding something? Maya asked, tension creeping into her voice. I am suggesting, Genkar replied carefully, that the universe is full of mysteries, and perhaps humans are one such mystery, even to themselves. The sordid scientist deactivated the scanner. Whatever the explanation, this device appears to be part of a much more sophisticated system than the crude sabotage implemented by the purists. It's almost as if someone was using them. Maya finished, the pieces clicking into place. The purists thought they were striking a blow against evolutionary latecomers, but they were being manipulated by someone else entirely. But to what end? Krell asked. If the goal was to destroy the Concordia, why use such a roundabout method? Maya stared at the mysterious device, a chill running down her spine. Maybe destruction wasn't the goal. Maybe it was a test. A test of what? Genkar demanded. Of us, of how we'd respond. Maya looked up at the assembled aliens. Think about it. This crisis pushed us to work together across species lines. It revealed the purest conspiracy. It elevated Earth's status, and it proved that older and younger species could combine their strengths effectively. A heavy silence fell over the laboratory as each delegate considered the implications. If you are correct, the sordid scientist said slowly, then someone or something is manipulating events on a scale that is troubling. Or guiding us, suggested the Medusan, their lights pulsing thoughtfully, perhaps preparing us for something greater. Commander Genkar's patterns shifted to a color Maya had never seen before, a deep, resonant gold that seemed to glow from within. In our oldest legends, before the Vraxians achieved spaceflight, we tell of the precursors, beings who walked among the stars before any of our kinds evolved beyond primitive states. They vanished months ago, but prophesied they would return when the galaxy was ready. You believe this is connected to mythological beings? The Selenian representative asked skeptically. I believe, Genkar replied, that today has shown us how little we truly know about the universe and about each other. Maya looked again at the mysterious device. If it was based on human designs, but centuries more advanced, the implications were staggering. Could humanity's future somehow be reaching back to influence its past? Or was there some connection between humans and these legendary precursors that even Earth itself had forgotten? As the delegates continued their discussion, Maya stepped away, moving to the viewport. The stars stretched out before her, countless points of light against the infinite darkness. Somewhere out there were answers to who had orchestrated today's events, to why they had done so, and perhaps even to humanity's true place in the cosmos. She thought of that moment in the emergency bridge, when instinct had guided her hands as much as training. The human element, unpredictable, adaptive, innovative. Perhaps that was why they had been tested today. Perhaps that was what made humans unique among the species of the Concordat. Or perhaps it was what made them familiar to someone long absent from the galactic stage. Commander Genkar joined her at the viewport, his exoskeleton gleaming in the starlight. Your thoughts, Sergeant Reynolds? I'm thinking, Maya replied with a small smile, that the universe just got a lot bigger and a lot stranger. Indeed, Genkar's patterns pulsed softly, and I find myself grateful that humans will be exploring it alongside us. The Concordia continued its journey through the stars, its diverse crew united by shared survival and new mysteries. And aboard the ship, in a forgotten maintenance shaft deep within its structure, a small device activated briefly, transmitted a single encrypted signal into the depths of space, and then went dormant once more. Message sent. Test complete. Observation continues. The journey had only just begun.